I was playing it a lot, so it got a little jarring. But I miss listening to Nyoro in loud clubs now. So yes and no, it's like a bittersweet relationship in the song. Yeah.
6 months ago, I feel like you've been jetting all across Africa this year. Like, what's your favorite place you've been to so far? Like, what set has been your favorite to play
This year?
This year only.
It had to be Timitar Festival in Morocco.
Okay.
This was on 15th July. And it was my biggest stage ever. I played for 70,000 people.
70,000 people?
Yeah, 70,000 people.
Oh my gosh.
I got to meet the king of Morocco backstage. Yeah, it was a super wild experience.
That is so surreal.
Yeah, it was a dream come true for me.
Wow.
To slowly become this global artist that I envision myself.
You
to be.
are a global
Yes,
artist now.
Morocco takes the cake this year. I'm hoping there's one or two other shows that will challenge that, but so far it's Morocco, yeah, for sure.
70,000, I can't get that number out of my head like at all. It must be so daunting. What are you thinking before you go on stage to play for 70,000 people?
No, it was actually unbelievable because once I landed in Morocco, I didn't have my suitcase. My suitcase didn't land.
Stop it.
There was this flight issue that was having with staff.
Right, and they messed up your luggage.
So the day I got there, I didn't have my luggage. So it kind of threw me off. And then when I met the promoters and they're like, there's going to be about 70,000 people today. And it didn't really make sense to me. I was like, yeah,
you're like,
sure,
cool, yeah,
whatever.
right.
Worried about getting my luggage back in time. Went for sound check to the show, and that's when I was like, what
Wait a minute.
actual hell?
Yeah.
Because
Wait a damn minute.
for the first time ever, I climbed 2 flights of stairs to get on stage.
Yeah,
that's something I've never done before. So,
oh, that's an interesting measurement of like how big the stage is. Like how many flights of stairs?
2 flights. Like
That's
I've never had 2
a
flights
lot.
of stairs. Yeah. So I got there for sound check, and I was like, I can't even imagine how this is gonna how it's gonna be. But yeah.
How many countries have you been to this year? Like
This year, not so many.
Okay. Last 2-3 years. Last 3 years, bulk.
I think like
That's the thing.
20 around the world, but in Africa I think like 7, 8.
Do you know that's so bizarre? Like that's such a blessing.
It's a huge blessing, especially for someone who comes from Kisumu.
Right.
I grew up in a school that was like less than 200 people, less than 100 people in school. So
it was a really tight knit community, wasn't it?
It's like a small city, a small town. I can't even call it a city.
Right.
A small town with very community-based living. You're in one community with like-minded individuals.
Right.
You have friends for 12, 15 years. You grow up together. So for me to even think that music would, 1, take me out of a place like that.
Right.
And 2, show me the world and put me in front of kings and queens.
Have you ever had like a bit of a culture shock?
Culture shock, not really.
Yeah.
Because I've been very grateful to have the opportunity to travel when I was younger.
Okay, good.
To interact with different people from different walks of life, different countries, different religions. So
it kind of equipped you.
Culture shock, not so really, but homesick. Imposter syndrome. Do I really deserve these things? A lot of those thoughts came to my mind, but the most important one is that I get to live my dream.
I'm so glad you brought up the imposter syndrome thing, 'cause that's something we talk about a lot and open up with Cami. Just feeling like, how, first of all, did we get here? And do I even deserve this?
Exactly.
And what's so crazy to me hearing you say that is when I announced you coming on the show, fans of yours started DMing me. And one in particular was like, you're going to enjoy this interview so much. His work ethic is insane. And that stuck out to me. And it's like, actually, going to 20-something countries in the past 3 or so years, like, you have to have that drive and that, like,
for sure,
ambition. And, like, where do you think you get that from?
I mean, again, coming from where I come from.
Yeah.
I come from Kisumu.
Represent.
I think for me, the work ethic mainly is understanding the fact that I have this opportunity.
Yeah.
And with putting in work in this opportunity, I can make a lot of my dreams into reality, or my dreams come true. So for me, work ethic has always been there. I feel like I found something. I found a purpose in life, and I
Wow.
don't have a reason to not work or to slack. And I'm a firm believer of what you put in is what you get back out. So
What you put out into the universe,
Yeah.
you'll get. I'm a firm believer in the same, and it's kind of that thing of like, with great power comes great responsibility,
Sure,
because
for
you're given
sure.
this platform, you're given these opportunities. So what are you now gonna
absolutely
do with it?
Absolutely.
Incredible. So I feel like not to switch gears a little bit, but I feel like the Afro house, house in general, was like a very niche subgenre in the Nairobi scene. I'll just talk
For
about
sure.
that. Up until recently, there's been this rise in uns culture, like
Yeah.
everyone call it uns, and I used to get made fun of.
Yeah.
For liking house
Wow,
music and stuff, and
okay.
being like, no, guys, let's go for 6 a.m. Like,
Yeah.
it's actually fun and whatever. So, how have you seen that? Like, being in the scene yourself, have you
Yeah.
felt that shift?
150%.
Yeah.
I feel like I've noticed this from not a really long time, but maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I've noticed the power of technology helping our genre of music.
Right.
Not many people see it that way, but I feel like if the internet wasn't there, it wouldn't have helped
wouldn't have picked up.
our music in such a way. Yeah.
I was watching a TikTok about Daft Punk and how there were these two French kids that were just into techno and
Yeah.
in the underground scene, and all of a sudden, taking those chances and the rise of media and sharing, they would have never been as big
Yeah.
as they are. I mean, they're iconic and they weren't really in that age of social media, but it's just incredible to see. Do you feel like some people are, not to stir the pot, but are not freeloaders, but riding the wave, and some people just are like, okay, uns is popular right now, or Afro house is popular right now, let's just jump on that wave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people doing
Right.
that. However, it's not a bad thing.
Because
Or
it's bringing more eyes.
Exactly, and it's not really I don't look at it as a negative connotation whatsoever. Simply because, one, like you said, it brings more eyes and ears to
Yeah.
our music, and secondly, there are people who are still putting the music first. For me personally, if you're going to put the music first, besides anything else, I think that's okay with me. By that
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna play and showcase new music from here and from around the world that people can listen to and eventually become fans of, I think that's pretty cool.
It's a win-win.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yes. I look
is
at
a
it as
win-win.
the most positive way possible, because if they didn't play this music, there would be 3 or 4 people who haven't heard it, or 300, 400 people who
Yeah.
hadn't heard it. So for me, I feel like it just works out for everybody.
Bringing more eyes and ears and pouring more money into this industry, because it
For
deserves
sure.
it.
For
It deserves
sure.
it. It's not
Yeah.
everyday hip hop, guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes let's broaden our horizons. Nothing wrong with hip hop.
For sure.
But yeah, that lovely take. I want to circle back to the whole work ethic thing, and I want you to do something a little different and give us a day in the life of Suraj
Oh, wow.
for your fans, because like I said, people DM'd me, which is a testament to
That's
you.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that messaged you.
Yeah.
A huge thank you to everybody
Shout out
that
you
paid
guys.
interest. And I just wanted to know more. I feel like a day in my life is usually split in different roles. I wear different hats from time to time.
Okay.
So I run a record label and an event series called Gondwana.
Yep.
Gondwana is my baby. I've been doing this for the past 6.5, 7 years now.
Oh wow.
So that's one hat that I wear. A second hat that I wear is I also run a audio production company that does a lot of behind the scenes audio work. So by that I mean we do scoring for documentaries, we do scoring
Wow.
for adverts, for music.
Wow.
We do radio jingles, things like that. So I have that, and then
That's incredible.
the third hat I wear, which is to me is the most important hat, is me as Suraj as an artist,
Right.
and playing the gigs, traveling the world, going to the studio, things like that. So that's my main hat that I wear, and then I have these 2 other sub hats. I would call them, that I
Sub-hats.
wear that just like add to everything that I do.
Okay, so I kind of had an aha moment. I did not realize you founded Gondwana. You were
Yes.
what?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What you guys have managed to accomplish this past few years, and it was actually going to be one of my questions, like what role do you think Gondwana has played in advancing your career and the career of other Afro house DJs and house DJs? But I'm realizing, oh wait, you created that.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, alongside my friend Eugene.
Yes,
Nyango.
Eugene.
We've both been great friends from a really long time. We both come from the same place. And,
Yeah.
we both have the same goals and visions, and it worked out. Yeah, it worked out for us.
I see why your fans are saying your work ethic is insane. That's many hats you wear, so big ups to you.
Thank you.
But how was Gondwana born?
I mean, it's a really, really interesting journey because for us, Gondwana was basically a platform we created for ourselves.
Okay.
So I would say in 2015 and 2016, there was a surge in techno and house music.
Yes.
With
Yes.
6 a.m. really pushing the boundaries. And what we ended up realizing there was it's all great. There was amazing experiences, great artists, great setups. However, there was no representation of a sound that is close to us. By that I mean, there was never a representation of African
Afro.
electronic music. Now, when I started listening to music, and one of the moments that really inspired me was when I saw Tiesto play at the 2006 Olympics.
Wow.
And it was the first time a DJ played such a stage.
Yeah. The
Over
Olympics.
40 million people on TV watching
Right.
you, 100,000 people in the stadium. So when I saw that, I was like, I feel like, imagine if you had a stadium full of African people and African rhythms that have been combined with these modern, contemporary electronic sounds. I feel like that is a representation of who we are. And then that got me into digging deeper and seeing some of the people that were making this sort of music.
Right.
Now, there's a group called Digital Line Africa. There's another group that was run by David Guetta, Bob Sinclair, and Martin Solveig called
Big names.
Africanism.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
Wow.
Africanism for me was a huge inspiration because they were the first ones to collaborate with an artist like Salif Keita, who made a huge crossover song. There was an African song,
Yeah.
yet it was crossed over. So those moments really inspired me and made me think how we can create representation of electronic music with African sounds here at home. And that's the basis of how Gondwana was born, basically.
You would have never thought names like David Guetta and
Exactly.
Bob Sinclair would be the ones to be like, hey, wait a minute, guys.
Yeah.
Let's bring in this Afro sound
Yeah.
into this predominantly European
100%.
genre.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And you were actually my introduction into Afro House.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. This is such a full circle moment for me, this interview. But the way it's taken over and Gondwana as a whole, not even joking, I always say I think it's my favorite event to go to. Just not just because of the music, because as I said, I'm a bit of an uns head, but also because of the way it's the whole setup, the experience.
Yeah.
The experience. Are you also on the side of that? Like, what challenges have you had, like planning events? Because I know it's such a stressful industry as well.
It really is
Yeah.
a stressful industry, and when you are wearing more than one hat, it becomes really challenging.
Right.
So I don't have the opportunity to come to Gondwana as an artist solely.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about tickets. I'm thinking about where's the waiters, and
Right.
things like
Are the
that.
toilets set up properly?
Exactly.
Is everything going smoothly,
And
guys?
what I ended up realizing is that you need a team that
Yes.
helps you do these things. So running events for us has not been easy, and especially trying to run an event that is so focused on the music and not focused on money making. That brings challenges with sponsors and things like that.
Right.
So it's been challenging. However, the constant support and love we get from the people of Gondwana, that we call them, the people that come every month and every week.
You've cultivated diehard fans, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I have nothing but them to thank
Yeah.
for the success of Gondwana
Yeah.
and for my personal success. Because if you guys weren't there, there's no Gondwana, there's no Suraj, it's non-existent.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we know and don't take for granted. And that's
Amazing.
why our whole thing is, how can I create an experience that will blow Kame's mind away?
Right.
And by that I mean, from when you press the button to get into the elevator, I don't want you to wait 7 minutes to wait for the elevator.
Wow.
When you get up to the event, I don't want you to feel like there's a VIP line and then there's a yo line where you're standing behind and waiting too long. Third issue that we are currently working on is we understand the clientele that we get for Gondwana, and we feel like sometimes the venues that we go to have some ridiculous drink prices.
Yes.
So these are things that we'll be the first to actually mention, be like, look, we understand. However, in order for us to create the vibe that you experience there, there's some things that will take a little bit longer than we would have hoped. So
it's like give and take, isn't it?
Yeah, and at the same time, I want you to listen to the best Afro house music while you're overlooking the Nairobi National Park. A moment that is like very special.
Very.
However, I also still want it to be comfortable to your pocket.
Yes.
So these are the challenges that we are currently facing. Not even facing. These are the things that we're trying to currently change and better. But yeah, it's never easy running events. But at the end of the day, my answer to that is just build a team that you trust. Build a team that has the same values and goals as you, and take care of your team. Yeah,
take care of your team. Big one. And I think a lot of event organizers need to hone that in. And I think what sets you guys apart is just exactly what you've just described. What experience are the guests gonna have? Guests, event goers, whatever you want to call them. That attention to detail. You just said, how many minutes are you spending in the lift? Like it shows you care. And as a Dwana goer, like you feel that. You feel like, okay, this is thought through. This is clever, and like it just makes all the difference.
100%.
What logistical problems did you have with like Dwana in the wild when you have to like go out of Nairobi? Is it just similar? Is it just like, okay, Nairobi but in a different place? No, I can imagine.
No. So our first one in the wild was at the Nairobi National Park.
Yes.
At the ivory burning site.
Yes.
Now, I am also a huge supporter and I'm also a huge advocate of wildlife because I've grown up in a family that visits the national park. I have family and friends that are in the media industry that have spent a lot of time shooting wildlife, filming wildlife, putting out stories, putting out documentaries, really caring for that side of our space. So the biggest challenge for us was we don't want to go to an area, piss on it and leave.
Exactly.
And then that area is not you can't use it, you can't utilize that area again.
Oh my goodness, litter, everything.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, did not even think about that.
100%.
Yeah.
So our main focus with Dwana in the Wild was how can we go to a place and leave it 12 hours later like we were never there. So the biggest logistical challenges for us was just that.
Right.
Was how can we develop a team that will take care of all the trash? How can we have a setup here that is not polluting to the environment? It's not dictating the space, and you're not changing things, cutting trees, cutting vegetation that you can never bring back. Having cars in and out, pollution for noise, things like that. Making sure that people come and don't throw cigarette butts everywhere.
Oh my goodness, and the stage setup, how is that going to be? Is it going to damage any plants?
Exactly. How do we make sure that you're not looking for a trash bin
for too long?
How do we make sure that there's as little single-use plastic as possible? So there's a lot of care and thought that goes into it simply because we want to be in charge of an area. We want to advocate for the area in a positive way. But at the same time, we also want to show you that you can do it without damaging the environment whatsoever.
You can have a large-scale event where you have a great experience, but you don't have to sacrifice the wildlife in the process.
Yeah.
You can have both.
And you're also raising funds.
Raising awareness.
And raising funds that will help the animals, wildlife. And
oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So every ticket that purchased from that, there was a percentage of money that was going to the Kenya Wildlife Service that was going to help them for the next 2-3 months to move around and just continue doing their job basically. So
wow. That's incredible. Logistical nightmare, but worth it in the end.
And we never do this ourselves. We have an amazing team
that
helps us from Hustle Sasa, who takes care of all our ticketing
Tickets,
and stuff
right.
like that, to our media team, to our setup, our sound and lights guys. We have an amazing team, and
Right.
we would not be anywhere without them.
Shout out your team.
Shout out
Shout out your
for
team.
sure.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take a brief music break. I lingered a bit too long on Gondwana, but it's something so interesting to me, just hearing the
For
other
sure.
sides of the music business. So, guys, in the meantime, we're still listening to the Sazile project before we switch gears in a bit. This, of course, is Open Up with Kami, and we're opening up today with Suraj. Enjoy Nehru. We'll be right back. In a bit, guys. Don't go anywhere. Up with Cami, live every day except Tuesdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is Radio 254.
Yagatobina, 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 Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, Animaleme, Yagatobina, Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, Animaleme, Yagatobina, Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, Animaleme, Yagatobina, Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, Animaleme. Osa bolingo nangai, ngana kokwa kisote. Osa motema nanga, ngana lela yo yato. Baby no stress, baby kuya nulansi. Baby yaka, hey, hey. Yagatobina, Aletobina, hey Yagatobina, Aletobina, Yagatobina, Aletobina, hey Yagatobina, Aletobina. Yagatobina, Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, Animaleme, Yagatobina, Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, Animaleme, Yagatobine, Kuya tucheze, Yagatobi, 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 Animaleme, Yagatobina, Animaleme, Ekuya tucheze, 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 Animaleme. Osa bolingo nangai, ngana kokwa kisote. Osa motema nanga, ngana lela yo yato. Baby no stress, baby kuya nulansi. Baby yaka, hey, hey. Yagatobina, Aletobina, hey Yagatobina, Aletobina, Yagatobina, Aletobina, hey Yagatobina, Aletobina.
Yes, sir. We back, we back, we back, we back, and we better. And we're live with none other than Suraj. What's up?
Yo, hello.
Hi. We're just taking a little music break. Give our vocal cords a little bit to rest. And this part of the show is where we actually kind of open up, because it's called Open Up with Cami.
Let's do this.
And delve into more of like who you are and like how you came to be. And last night I watched the video of yours, my story. I believe you uploaded to your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Shout out the people in the studio making music who want to interrupt the interview. But yeah, and I find it so interesting that you talk a lot about growing up in Kisumu, which I think is incredible, and I can tell that you're proud of where you come from.
Yeah.
And hearing that you were taken to like live shows and live bands and performances, and that influenced your music, and I can hear it in the lieu of vocals and everything.
For sure.
And I guess my question is, what's the song you've made that just feels like home, that just feels like Kisumu, that just feels like growing up? Yeah.
Wow. That's a great question. I feel like for me, Oriti with Kato Change and Winyo is a song that really hits home. When we were collaborating on this music, it was during deep into pandemic. So July, August of 2020 is when we really started finishing the records. So we were in a very we were in a lockdown. We were in like a negative phase and a negative, not really negative, but we were not at our happiest.
We
were not at our happiest. There was a lot of things going on. Your livelihood has been taken away from you. You're trying to figure out how you're gonna like stand on your own 2 feet. But when I visited Kisumu for the first time with the new music, and I played Oriti just when I was just sitting by the lake alone playing Oriti, I felt like for me that was the song that really hit home for me. Yes.
And when you play it, you're just taken back to that moment where you're on the lake.
Every time I play it now, I get taken back to that moment.
To that moment, and it's beautiful. I mean, it seems a bit redundant to ask like what role your childhood or growing up here has played in your music, but just unpacking a bit more of that, like anything that stands out and being like, okay, that was a pivotal moment that, you know, all my surroundings is what made me think of this or that or the other.
Yes, I would say. So I had a different. I had a different upbringing from a lot of people. By that I mean I have this Kenyan life and Kenyan side to me, but I'm also my parents are still Indian. So I also have an Indian background that I was growing up in. And a way of life that Indians have. But now I mix that with a little bit of life in Kisumu. So slow down life.
Relax, lakeside, you know the vibes.
So a lot of those things I feel like played an individual role in my upbringing. I love connection with individuals. I love meeting people. I love spending time with people. I love communicating with people, conversing with people. And I feel like that comes from always spending time with people around. Always have family and friends around, things like that. So those sort of things individually play into my music and into me as Suraj. But collectively, I feel like the biggest role is my surrounding. So hearing the sounds that I heard when I was growing up, hearing the musicians and the songs that I was hearing when I was growing up has been the biggest influence in my musical career.
Can I also say the nature as well? Hearing nature sounds in the background of your tracks as well. And I guess that's what I'm putting pieces together here, but I guess that's what led to you having this strong affiliation for wildlife conservation. That's another passion of yours.
Yeah, and another huge passion that I have is to be able to highlight music and musical tribes from around Kenya. So I was very fortunate to do a project called Sounds of Sasab, where I recorded the Samburu tribe alongside two of my best friends called Fuzak and Dylan. We run a company called MIDI Minds, and that's where we do a lot of audio production and stuff for documentaries, film, TV, things like that.
I need to write that name down immediately. Sorry.
So we were very fortunate to work on a collaboration called Sounds of Sasab, where we collaborated with the with the Samburu community. We recorded their vocals, took their vocals and shopped them out to 20 of the world's leading DJs and music producers. We created a compilation of 29 songs that were released around the world. And all the money that was raised from that project is basically being put towards building a classroom in Samburu. And then our goal is to be able to bring musical equipment into that classroom and to be able to teach Samburu kids how to make music, how to DJ, and just show them that their voice can basically change their life.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
There always seems to be this underlying sense of like charity with all the projects you put out, or most of it, like whether it's going back into conservation or just building up the music scene in some way. I can tell you have that strong sense of let's help the community. Let's help. Let's just help out.
Yeah, and for me, I don't really look at it as charity, to be honest with you. I feel like it's only fair to be able to give these people what's due to them.
Yeah.
So another huge reason why it led me to there is when I first started out and I was looking for African electronic music that I can play and get inspired by, I was never put in a position where I knew where this vocal was from and who the people behind the vocals were, and most importantly, what they were saying in the vocals. Mm-hmm. So there was never a representation of that, and I wanted to change that.
Right.
I wanted people to know that this vocal that you hear in my song is a Samburu vocal from the Westgate Conservancy in Samburu, and this is what the song is about. So if you go to the project and you see the Sounds of Sasar project, when we released the samples to producers and DJs around the world, we shared with them the lyrics and what it means, just in order for them to have a context of what they're working on. So I wouldn't really call it charity. I feel like I'm only just doing my duty.
Due diligence.
And I'm just giving back what they actually deserve.
Exactly. They put in the words, they gave you the vocals. Actually, charity is not the right word at all.
It's not
literally,
the right word at all.
You know, they're getting what they deserve for their services, which is amazing.
And which is something that should have happened from the jump. They should never be any other way.
Because a lot of, producers, they sample tribal lyrics or whatever, and it's just never, that's it. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, thanks, bye.
Yeah, and also, I wouldn't really just say it with musicians and sampling. I also say it with guests, international guests that come. Let's say you have a family that's come from France.
Yeah.
They go to Mombasa for holiday and they're staying at White Sands, one of these hotels.
Right.
During dinner, there are these like African songs being played. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee you they don't know what the song is about.
Yeah.
So in order to give people context, even just starting there, I feel like we're just doing our duty for it's just you knowing what they're singing about.
Just taking that time and interest to be like, actually, and I think now I'm gonna go home and like Google the lyrics to your tracks and be like, actually, what are they saying? Because it could add a whole new layer. It's all well and good where
100%.
we're in the club like, but like, what are they saying? And like these people have put their time and effort into this, probably saying something gorgeous. It sounds gorgeous, but obviously some of us don't speak Luo, some of us don't speak Samburu, and wow, that's given me, and I bet a lot of listeners, food for thought, something to think about.
And I also feel like they're all sharing a story, and I want everyone's story to be heard, and most importantly, I want everyone's story to be understood.
Put.
It's one thing hearing a story; it's another thing understanding.
Understanding, you can hear something where you're actually listening.
Yeah, so that's a huge deal about why we try to do the project that we're doing. And next year we're actually going to another country to do a similar project. I can't really share much info just yet, but that's one of the things that I am doing to make sure that Kenyan music and Kenyan culture is being pushed forward.
Is being put on the map. I mean, amazing platform to talk about that one. That's our number one mission. Switching gears a bit, I would say in Kenya at least, a household name amongst DJs, and you're big now, but are there any struggles you encountered getting to this point, and anything that sticks out? I mean, everyone has their own journey and their own struggles. What are yours?
To be very honest with you, I have had it much easier than a lot of people.
Okay.
I'll be the first person to say that. I have been very grateful for friends and family to be able to support me in ways that I would have not been able to get any support if it wasn't for them.
Right.
So by that I mean financially, allowing me to not worry about bills and allowing me to focus on making music, allowing me to experiment, try and get new sounds. So a lot of my struggle has not necessarily been the starting out phase. I feel like my struggles are now where I am fighting to get visas to go to countries. For me, that's been a huge ordeal that I'm slowly but surely trying to figure ways out. But my biggest challenge now has been the bureaucracy of traveling to other countries.
You know, I think about this a lot because I used to travel a lot as well, and getting visas with a Kenyan passport. I assume you have a Kenyan passport.
I only have a Kenyan passport.
Yes, so do I. So
Yes.
going back and forth between countries, first of all, the expenses of getting a visa, the bureaucracy, as you said, like it will take, I don't even know how many weeks, having to do everything months in advance. And
Yeah.
has that cost you some opportunities where you're like, I can't even
It's-
go because it's going to take me 6 months to get there?
It cost me, my biggest opportunity was this summer. So I was scheduled to play. So I had a pretty hectic schedule. It was Morocco July 15th, Nigeria July 19th, and then I would come back home to Kenya, and then I would travel to Europe on the 10th of August.
Right.
Now, before I went to Morocco in July, my passport was in the Moroccan embassy for 3 weeks. I got my visa because I frequently travel to Morocco. I've traveled to Morocco 4 times now. So I got my. It wasn't really an issue with getting the visa. It was the time it takes to process. So once I got my visa, I went and traveled to Morocco. I did my Nigeria show, and then I came back. The day after I came back, I went and gave my passport to the Schengen,
Yeah.
because I was going on a Europe tour.
Okay. Oh, fun.
However, before my Europe tour started on, I think it was the 12th of August, I had a African tour where I was doing South Africa, Ethiopia, Uganda for three days straight before I came back home on the 10th, and then I traveled on the 12th.
Chai,
So
this is a
now,
lot.
so the issue that I was having was I'd given my passport in for the Schengen visa,
Right.
and I was told it'll take 14 days. On the 14th day, they basically called and they said they would need 2 more weeks because due to the election, a lot of people were traveling, so there was a backlog.
Goodness me.
So now I was faced with a predicament where them needing 2 more weeks means I would miss 4 of my shows in Europe
Africa. Okay.
and my 3 shows in Africa in order for me to get my visa to play 2 shows that are left on those dates. So I was left with the predicament where I was like, either I go get my
scrap
passport now,
right.
play my Africa shows, scrap Europe, and then redo that again, or play one last show in Europe and miss 7 other shows. So that was my biggest predicament, and then I had to take my passport, cancel my Europe
Cancel your
shows,
Europe shows.
play Africa, and come back home. So
That's a painful decision to make.
it was so
I
difficult
can't
because
even
for the first
imagine.
time ever, I was going to play in Ibiza in Spain.
You're lying.
Yeah, and I was playing for a night on the island called "We Are Here" by Pablo Fierro, who is one of my musical influences.
Right.
And after performing with him here in Kenya, he invited me to go and play in Spain, in Ibiza, in one of the biggest clubs. And I had to cancel. I had to come to
These are the
terms.
things that make me angry as well. Because
I had to
it's
come
like-
to terms with the fact that I was not going to be able to make my debut in Ibiza this year.
Yeah.
However, I am working on getting my visas in good time and being able to go and do it next year.
Hey, take it as universe's timing. It is
Exactly.
jarring though as well, like having a less powerful passports, and I don't think a lot of people
Understand.
think about that. Yeah,
They
understand.
don't.
Like
They don't.
you have to give up because I was born in
And I
a
didn't
different part of
choose
the
to
world.
be born
Yeah, guys.
with a Kenyan passport, you know. So
and who decided? Okay, these are the countries that are gonna be blah blah blah.
exactly
Superpowers.
So yeah, those are some of the challenges.
Very
but
niche.
I feel like these challenges will only make me stronger.
Exactly.
And these challenges will only make the journey more sweeter. When I get there, it'll mean much more to me when I go and play in Spain next
It
year.
will.
So,
It will
yeah.
be all that much sweeter.
Yes.
I'm gonna liken it. I'm gonna be a nerd for a second and liken it to Lewis Hamilton losing his 8th world title last year.
Yeah.
It will be all the more sweeter when he gets it soon.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Brazil already said he's an 8-time champion anyway. So.
Oh, shut up, Brazil. This is why we rep them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of musical influences, top 3.
Top 3 musical influences.
Yeah.
It usually changes from time to time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hard.
Wow, really hard.
Yeah.
I feel like because of the journey and because of the steps taken, black coffee would be right up there for me.
King.
Quincy Jones is a huge, huge inspiration to me simply because of the way he maneuvered his career and how he used gear, like actual hardware gear, to create an identity and a signature sound. And another one that's at the top of my list that I really, really enjoy listening to is Timbaland,
Goat.
Timbaland, who also built a very signature and identical, an identity sound, which is my goal in life.
Right.
Is I want to create a sound that you can identify Suraj with.
I can play a track and be like, oh, that sounds
Suraj.
like Suraj.
Exactly.
The
So
same way
that's
Pharrell has that 4 count in the beginning of his.
Exactly.
Right.
So those are some of the people that inspire me, and these are names that change every day.
Yeah, of course.
Yesterday
of
I
course.
loved Salif Keita and Papa Wemba.
Right.
Today it's Black Coffee. But yeah, it's just people who are doing great stuff that are trying to build a signature sound and push their culture forward.
Love that. Do you reckon producers back in the day had it harder than you lot? Because this is a nice debate I like to have.
I feel like absolutely, because I can literally go onto my computer now.
Right.
And in 4 hours I have a contemporary song. In order for you to do that back in the day, it would never take you that short amount of time. So I feel like it was very, very difficult for artists back in the day. And I feel like they also didn't have the internet to make full use of.
Yeah. I mean, someone that's just starting out can literally go on GarageBand, make a track.
And I've seen this with my own eyes. There's artists who have put out one song and their life has changed like this. Gone.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So I'm sure it was much easier. It was much harder back in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer of all my success comes from the help of the internet.
Right.
It's something that I don't shy away from. If the internet wasn't there, I don't think I'd be able to have the opportunities that I have today, be able to make the music and not really make, but spread the music out the way it has worked out for me.
Glad you're recognizing that privilege as well. A lot of people shy away from that.
I mean, for me, I said that from the jump. I knew that the internet was going to be a huge catalyst for me and my success musically, and I needed to learn how to take full advantage of the internet.
How have you?
I feel like some of the most important things is just to be accessible.
Yes.
To be consistent. So if you go onto my Instagram or my Twitter, I'm always putting out something, whatever it is. Musically, if there's a show, if there's a remix, Gondwana music, things like that. So being consistent and being easy and accessible. So you can message me on Instagram and I'll reply right back to you. And a third thing that I feel that has also really helped is to just create an ecosystem. So by that I mean, I'll go to the studio, I'll create music. Once the song is ready, I know I have Gondwana that will throw a party where I can play the music and test the music out.
Okay.
As soon as I've tested the music out, I'll take my music to my other company, MIDI Minds, that does a lot of back-end audio production, make sure that the audio production of the song is perfect, and then again, go back to Gondwana as my record label, launch my music on my record label, use it to promote the internet, bring people to the shows, use the music on my after movies and things like that, and really build an ecosystem on the internet.
Perfectly described. And the word ecosystem just does it for me, because everything needs to be in harmony, symbiotic. Everything's feeding each other, so it exactly becomes an ecosystem. We're running out of time, but I do want to touch on the fact that you're playing at what I'm calling the return of Blankets and Wine.
It is the return of Blankets and Wine.
I'm so excited, guys. And I bet so many listeners right now are excited as well, just to have that back. And you'll be performing?
Yes. So first, I'd like to say a huge, huge shout out to Blankets and Wine, Mudoni Drama Queen, Justine, the whole team. They have been a huge, huge supporter of my music and all the stuff that I do from the very beginning. To be very honest with you, one of my first residencies ever was at Blankets and Wine. And by residency, I mean I was not playing on the main stage.
Right.
I was in a small tent on the side of the usual Blankets and Wine, collaborating with Jack Rooster for I think 2 or 3 years, where we played for like 10 people, 20 people. They were feeling the music on a small white stage, small white tent actually. Sorry, and slowly built my way up from there. Started playing the main stage, and I would open the main stage from like 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. And with my musical journey and Blankets' musical journey, I've been very grateful to grow with Blankets and Wine.
Right.
And I have showcased on their stage 2 or 3 times on main stage playing peak sets. However, this is the first time ever that I'm going to be able to play a live show. By that I mean you'll be able to hear Winyo sing Nyoro live while I DJ.
Stop it, guys. If that's not enough for you to buy your tickets.
And with Katuchange playing the guitar throughout my whole set. Katuchange is also one of my biggest musical inspirations because he's a musical genius, and there's a lot that Katuchange has done for me musically in terms of inspiring me musically that I'm always forever grateful for. So I'll be collaborating with Katuchange on the whole set, and I'll be performing with Winyo, with Polaris, and 1 or 2 other new artists that I'll be launching some new music with. So it's
tears in my eyes.
Yeah,
guys,
it's going to be awesome.
I cannot wait for that, and I'm glad you brought up new artists that you might be bringing on, because I wanted to end the show by asking, are there any up and coming DJs, producers that you want people to check out, or you'd want to shout out?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a huge list of amazing DJs, music producers, and just all around cool people that are doing amazing work. I am a huge fan of Tina Ardor right now.
Right.
Tina's a vocalist and a DJ from Nairobi, Kenya, who's doing amazing work. Obviously, the people that I'm closest to, Eugene, Dylan S, and Fuzak, who are all consistently pushing new music.
Amazing.
There's a new school of artists, of DJs that have come up, artists like KNVL, Fita,
Big Nyags,
Afula,
shout out.
Big Nyags, this like One Down, Kevin Corey, this amazing DJs with great ideas and great energies that are doing amazing work. So I feel like if you just go onto the internet and just type Kenyan electronic music 2022, you'll see a lot of the new cats there as well, and they're all doing amazing work that I feel like has to be
applauded, and put in the spotlight.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for that. We have come to the end of the interview, but before I do have to ambush you, I said off air that I'm going to ask you a hard question.
Let's do it.
About national parks, because our boy Suraj loves wildlife and conservation and national parks. He did say that. Rank all the national, okay, not all, sorry.
Yeah.
3 national parks from best to least, or least to best.
In Kenya?
In Kenya. Oh, in East Africa. In Sub-Saharan Africa.
I've only been to parks in East Africa. I haven't been to any parks outside of Kenya and Tanzania.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a hard question.
And it's kind of like, how can you put down one national park after the other?
You can't.
Well, you have to.
However, the most special experience I've ever received in a national park was at Serengeti National Park. I'm a huge fan of plains, like open plains, savanna, and I feel like Serengeti is the textbook version of national park with like open plains.
Okay. That's number 1. Serengeti.
Number 2 would have to be Amboseli because of the amount of elephants I get to see.
I love elephants.
Yeah, they're my favorite animals.
Oh my god, same. I have a tattoo of an elephant.
Wow.
Yeah.
So number 2, and then number 3 would be Nairobi National Park because there's always so many cars. Yeah.
I mean, it's home, but gosh.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, why am I sat in traffic?
But at the same time, on that same breath.
Right.
The Nairobi National Park is the only national park in a city that makes it very, very special. And it's also our backdrop to our Gondwana parties every month.
Time, actually.
So,
we might have to reshuffle.
So, hey, Nairobi National Park might be my favorite national park.
It might be. Love to hate it, hate to love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's me.
Well, thank you for playing that game with me really quickly, and thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you for the spotlight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story, share my journey. I'm very grateful. Here.
Thank you. We're going to close out with Suna, the African Deep. Guys, this project, it was released fairly recently.
So the Africa Deep remixes came out earlier this year, and we have the rest of the Sazile EP remixes coming out very, very soon.
Stop it. Love that.
Maybe we'll have some of your favorite artists remixing the songs.
Oh.
So, who knows?
He's teasing us, guys.
Who
He's
knows?
teasing us.
Who
This has
knows?
been Suraj, Kenya, KE, everyone's socials, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much again for sitting down with me. And we're
Thank
going
you,
to play
Karen.
out with Suna, the African Deep remix.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. See you in a bit.
Ciao, ciao.